In this video, we're going to piggyback off of the exploration introduction, in that what they were doing was these countries were exploring and colonizing new places so they could find things to trade and to make money off of. And so what's starting to happen is major European conquest and colonization. This is after we've explored. Now we're wanting to conquer these places and colonize them. It begins with searching for a new trade route to India and the Far East. And we talk about India and the Far East because these are the two places that in Europe made the most money for us, with the spices and the art and the art and gold and silk and things. And so we're looking for those, but if we find anything along the way, then we will also use that to gain our wealth as well. And so some notable explorers that we need to talk about. In 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue, and he sailed for Spain. In 1497, John Cabot sailed for England. In 1535, quite a few years later, Jacques Cartier sailed for France. And in 1607, Henry Hudson sailed for the Netherlands or Holland. And just a note about 1607, to kind of give you a time frame. In 1607, England was already establishing a permanent settlement called Jamestown. And these four countries here, we know them as our big Playas. So let's talk about our four big Playas, and we're going to go through kind of a bio of each one. And as you are taking your notes, leave some room on either side so we can draw a picture that represents these countries at the end of our video. Let's talk about Spain. We know them as the Spanish, and we'll refer to Spain, the Spanish, or even the Spaniards, the people from Spain. And so we want to know where Spain traveled, explored, and colonized. Well, they were really looking at Mexico and the Caribbean because of the wealth of gold that the Aztecs and Inca had there. They were also searching the southwestern United States, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, even up through Colorado and Wyoming, looking for the seven cities of gold, or the cities of Cibola. And they were also exploring Florida for the Fountain of Youth. Now, who explored for Spain? Christopher Columbus is the most notable. Ferdinand Magellan and Vasco Núñez de Balboa. It's a fun name to say. Ferdinand Magellan is the one that's credited for circumnavigating the entire world. It's going all the way around the world in a boat. And then why did Spain explore, colonize, settle? Well, the three G's is their main motivation: God, gold, and glory. And remember, the God is to spread their faith. And the dominating faith in, or religion in Spain, is Catholicism, or a part of the Catholic Church. The gold is to find wealth, to build up the wealth of Spain. And then also for glory. If these guys were the ones that were finding the gold and spreading the most religion, they were getting to be very famous there. And that was kind of their goal, is to spread all of these things, to find gold and to get famous. Just a note about the god. The Spanish set up many areas around the southwestern United States. These are kind of religious centers, and they're called missions. You've probably heard of the Alamo, was a very famous mission in Texas history. And then Santa Fe is actually one of the oldest missions in the United States. It's actually the oldest state capital in the United States, Santa Fe is. Okay, so that's kind of just another note about why they were focused on the three G's. Our next big playa is France. We'll call them the French. So where did the France settle, explore, colonize? They were really looking at Canada, the Great Lakes, and all along the Mississippi River Valley, from St. Paul in Minnesota all the way down to New Orleans in Louisiana. And the reason they were looking there is really for the fur trade, and I'm skipping ahead, but that's why they settled up there, was for the fur trade. Who explored for them? Jacques Cartier and another really fun name to say, René Robert Cavelier de la Salle. Super fun to say, but Jacques Cartier, he's actually what's called the father of New France, the establishments here. And so what happened with the France in the northern parts of North America is they were only setting up forts and small establishments. They were not looking to, spread out, make, big cities and things. And so the native people were actually okay with them being there. They were there for the fur trade and really for beavers and the beaver pelts. That's the skins or the hide of the beaver, because they were overhunted in Europe. And so North America had an abundance of beaver, and so France was trying to cash in on some of these beaver pelts. And they were also looking for new trading partners. They were trading with those native people. And so they actually had a fairly good relationship with a lot of those native tribes up in the northern parts. And so new trading partners was bringing in money, fur trade was bringing in money, and France was not looking for permanent settlement here. Let's talk about England, our third of the four big playas. We'll talk about Britain or the British or the English, and just kind of a recap of that. Britain is kind of the kingdom that England is a part of. The kingdom is situated in England because it's the biggest colony of that kingdom. But Britain and England and British and English are referred to as all the same thing. They're synonyms for each other. Where did England settle, colonize? The east coast of North America and some into Canada. And they're the ones that are responsible for the 13 colonies. Who explored? John Cabot was mentioned earlier. He was looking for the Northwest Passage. It's a different way to find a new trade route. And why are they looking here? And why are they settling here? Well, to gain wealth, that's one of the three G's. To spread Christianity, that was another of the three G's. And to claim land for England, that's to be famous. And so those are the three G's, but there are also many other reasons why England was looking for a new place to colonize. They also wanted religious freedom. They were tired of the King of England telling them how to worship and who to worship and when to worship. And so they were looking for religious freedom as well. They were also looking for raw materials that they could trade with other countries. And they also wanted to stop overcrowding in England. They were tired of building up and they wanted to build out to have a little more elbow room in their country. And the big reason why England started settling this area here, colonizing this area here, was to make permanent settlements. To do all of these things, but to make permanent settlements for England. Our last of the big players is Netherlands. We know them as the Dutch, and I should have corrected this here. It should be the Dutch, and Holland is the country's name. And sorry about that. You can just write Holland, Holland. Very easy to spell. So the Netherlands is called the Dutch and Holland. Where did the Netherlands explore and colonize? Well, they were looking at the northern parts, mainly Canada, and they settled a place called New Amsterdam. There was a city in the Netherlands called Amsterdam, and so they established New Amsterdam because it was a new one, and that actually became present-day New York. Funny story about that. When they bought Long Island from the Native Americans living there, they paid something like $20 or $25 in beads for Long Island, and that's kind of a steal in today's money. But kind of a funny story about that. Who was exploring for the Netherlands? His name is Henry Hudson. He's responsible for naming Hudson Bay and the Hudson River. Why were the Netherlands exploring? Well, much different than England. They were only looking to build up the economy of the Dutch. They were looking for the Northwest Passage and to kind of create a stronghold on that, because if they controlled the Northwest Passage, then they could levy or tax anyone who used it. And so they were looking for the Northwest Passage, which is simply a waterway that connects the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. And so if they could control that Northwest Passage, they could really get a lot of money from finding the goods in India and the Far East, China, Japan, and some of those Southeast Asian countries. They could really be making a lot of money, and that was a big purpose, was to build up their economy. So here is what our pictures are going to be. Besides Spain, I need you to write a cross. And the reason we write a cross is because that represents religion. They were really looking to spread religion, one of the big 3 Gs, establishing missions and things like that. So draw a cross next to Spain. And France, you can draw a little beaver in France, and you can just draw a little character with a big flat tail like that. And I think it has like a crosshatch on it. Don't judge me for my drawing, by the way. And then by the Netherlands, you can draw a dollar bill with money, because remember, they were looking to build up wealth. And beside England, you can draw a house as a permanent settlement.